Hello there, my name is Brandon. This is a paid ad that I'm going to be running on YouTube, and just to be very clear, I'm going to be going over the basics of what's going on. This ad is only going to be going to people who live in the Los Angeles area to start. This ad was born from an irritation of what's going on in California. I love California very, very much. But there's some things going on. This mansion tax thing that I've recently seen has really kind of been the straw that's broke the camel's back. And basically in this video, I'm going to show you how you can legally get around having to pay a mansion tax. I'm going to show you how to legally get around how to pay any taxes, really at all whatsoever, if you so choose. And this is going to be a super crazy video, probably nothing like you've ever seen before. It's going to be kind of Tai Lopez style, might be kind of long. But I assure you it's going to be worth your time. So real quick, just about me, I researched the law, and I have a really crazy website and a bunch of really crazy material. I have a free course that I give away completely free. It's about 23 hours of material. And the reason why I'm doing this course is two reasons. I see Los Angeles going down the tube pretty fast. And I believe that there's a lot of information here that I have that very few people in Los Angeles know about. B, I am obviously looking to help some people and get paid in the process. So this is an ad for services, but basically everything I'm going to be teaching, I also give away for free at the same time. So there's not going to be any like secret aspects to this or anything kind of crazy or wild or secret that I don't give away for free either on my website or on the free course that I have on my website. And there's going to be a link somewhere here that you can click on to go to all of my material and download it for free or sign up for my course for free, etc. So that said, I want to get into a few things with you guys. I'm not going to get into any of this too heavily. I'm going to give you guys a lot of little pieces, bits and pieces of this information to try to wet your whistle, so to speak. The course is where I deep dive into all this for many, many, many hours. I'm not going to make this a 7-hour video. So we're going to go into this very, very light, very, very gentle. I care very, very much about my country. I care very, very much about my state. And I would like to see some things change. This is not just a service type ad. This is much deeper. This is a passion project. This is something that I think about all day long and I am completely obsessed with. So that said, I want to get into a few things to share with you guys and show you some pretty crazy things. The first thing I want to show you guys is you're going to go to Google and you're going to type in 28 space USC, which stands for United States Code, space 3002. You're going to go to Cornell University. Let me just make sure I'm with you guys. Cornell University right here. You're going to scroll down to subsection 15. This is the definition section of 28 U.S. Code 3002. Scroll down to definition 15. It says here, you can see right here in black and white, the United States means a federal corporation. Now, I've been researching this quite a lot. And you're going to, you've probably already heard some things about this. Oh, is the United States a corporation and the corporation of the United States, blah, 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 blah. I'm not here to argue with you. I don't care. You can put all the comments you want down below about, oh, I'm a conspiracy theorist, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I don't care what you do. I'm probably not going to acknowledge anything you have to say. I'm going to ignore you. And I'm going to just stick with what it says here in the statute. Okay. The statute says United States means a federal corporation. Now, for those of you that don't emotionally defend this definition and get violently offended about the fact that this is here and think that I'm some kind of crazy, insane, psychopathic person, you'll notice that the word federal is capitalized. I don't know why that is. If anyone seeing this has information as regards to what I'm going over and someone can tell me why the word federal is capitalized, I would love to know because it's a question I've had for a long time. There are some other definitions here. I wouldn't really get into that too much if you're new to this information. I would just stick with this one for now. It's in black and white. There is no conspiracy theory. There is no I'm a weirdo. There is no right-leaning, left-leaning. This is non-political. I could care less about Trump and Biden and all the other horse shit. I couldn't care less physically. Okay. So we have a situation where the United States means a federal corporation. Okay, now we're going to go to a second part that's going to double confirm that. We're going to go to UCC 9-307. UCC stands for the Uniform Commercial Code. Click on I like Cornell. It has some cool definitions that they link together and stuff that I really enjoy. So we're going to go down to subsection H. Now here, again, you guys can freak out in the comments section and have all these excuses. Everyone I ask about this has a different excuse. So when I hear 28 different excuses, that means that none of you people have any clue what you're talking about, and you just get emotionally freaked out about this information, and you like frantically try to defend yourself from the fact that this stuff can be true. If you want to do that, you're more than welcome to do that down in the comments, and I will be more than happy to ignore you. Okay? So H. Okay, location of United States. The United States is located in the District of Columbia. Okay, now, I don't know how you're going to mince that. I don't know how you're going to confuse that. I really, every single person I show this to has some other different excuse, which shows me that they're just emotionally trying to deflect, essentially. Like, this is what it says. I don't care if you're right-leaning, left-leaning, middle-leaning, upper-leaning, southern-leaning. It doesn't matter. I don't care who you support. I don't care what you love. I don't care your sexual orientation. I could care less about any of it, honestly. The location of the United States. The United States is located in the District of Columbia. So you ask yourself at this point, why am I showing you this in a paid ad on YouTube? Well, I'll show you why. Because what is the definition of citizen? Right? So U.S., so let's just say citizen means someone who lives someplace. Okay, let's keep it really, really simple. It is more complicated than that. So U.S. means it's located in the District of Columbia, right? And then you think to yourself, U.S. citizen, U.S. meaning United States, which is located in the District of Columbia, citizen, right? So U.S. citizen, the definition of the term U.S. citizen means someone who physically lives inside of the District of Columbia, okay? And you think like, oh, Brandon's crazy. No, I'm going to get into this more and more and more. This is literally the most craziest stuff you've probably ever seen, and it's on a paid ad randomly on YouTube. I'm going to dig into this more and more and more. Again, my free course. And when I say free, I mean I don't ask you for money. I don't ask you for nothing. I don't even during it, I don't run ads. I don't have ad revenue. Nothing. I mean, I'm just doing this because what's happening in this country is completely out of hand. I don't care which direction you lean. It's not even about that. I am not involved in politics. I have no interest in politics. Nothing. So we're going to get into this more and more and more, okay? So U.S. citizen is someone who lives in the District of Columbia. Now, W-9 tax form. If you go and look at a W-9 tax form, which is right here on the screen, and you go down to Section 2, certification, look at this. Under penalty of perjury, I certify that. Number 3, I am a U.S. citizen or other U.S. person, which is defined below. And make sure I'm with you guys still. Okay, good. If we scroll down here to define below, definition of a U.S. person. For federal tax purposes, you are considered a U.S. person if you are an individual who is a U.S. citizen or a U.S. resident alien, a partnership, corporation, company, or association, an estate, a domestic trust, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So you're signing this document stating that you are a U.S. person or a U.S. citizen, which we've already gone over the fact that signature of U.S. person right here, right? Now, that's a felony. Let me just tell you. It's a felony to sign these forms under penalty of perjury. Now that I've shown you this and you start questioning it, it's actually illegal for you to be signing these forms without understanding what these terms mean, right? And very few people ever take the time to clear up all of these words and what they mean. And there's all this information on the internet. You shouldn't be going to random information on the internet. You should be going to the United States Code. and you say, I'm not a lawyer. You don't need to be a lawyer, dude. I just showed you that. You don't need to be a lawyer to learn all this stuff. I mean, there are some really dumb people that I work with, I'm sorry, that are getting this information with little to no effort, right? It's not like Brandon, I'm like the king and I have all the answers. No, the U.S. Code has all the answers. The Uniform Commercial Code has all the answers. And the Code of Federal Regulations has all the answers, okay? Now you ask yourself, well, I've been checking U.S. Citizen and all this kind of stuff my whole life. Like, what other choices are there? Good question. There is another choice, okay? And we're going to go to 8 U.S.C. 1101. So that's subsection 21. So you're going to go to 8 U.S.C. You can type this right into Google. You don't need to have your hand held. You don't need a lawyer. You don't need to pay $5,000 up for a lawyer so he can go look something up on the internet for you. You go down to subsection 21. Okay. Subsection 21. And there's a term here. The term national means a person owing permanent allegiance to a state. Now, this word state here, that means one of the 50 states of the Union, right? So a U.S. citizen is someone who lives in Washington, D.C. A national is a person who lives in a state. And you say to yourself, well, I live in a state. Of course you do. Most Americans do. But they're saying on paper and they're lying under penalty of perjury stating that they live in Washington, D.C., right? Now, I'm not going to get into all the crazy details and every single little detail and that kind of thing about this. So basically, like, only U.S. citizens have a tax liability. People who are not U.S. citizens don't have a tax liability. It's just that people don't realize that you have a choice, right? And that choice is you just saying which one you are. Do you live in Washington, D.C., or do you live in a state, right? So if you live in a state, you aren't a U.S. citizen. And you've been lying all this time because you didn't know the definition of the term, and you're actually a national, and a national doesn't really have a tax liability, okay? And you're going to learn all about that in my free course. I'm not going to get into all that right now, okay? But I have all the evidence, all the proof. I have all sorts of different points from Title 26, which is the Internal Revenue Code. I show you exact points with exact quotes. It's not just me talking smack. Like, it's all on the course. It's all on my website for free. My website's super crazy. It's kind of offensive to some people. I love it. I think it's hilarious. So I don't really care. It's all free. So I don't really care what anybody thinks. And for people who want to freak out, go for it. It ain't going to change nothing for me. Okay. So now you see here, there's two different terms. There's the term national, and then there's the term national of the United States. Now, these are two completely different terms, right? So, like, this is a bit of a rabbit hole. Like, you have to actually go and study all this stuff, right? So now that we know that there's a different type of, there's citizenship and then there's nationality, right? They're two totally different terms, okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go to, this is 22 CFR 51.3, okay? CFR stands for Code of Federal Regulations. You can see here from ecfr.gov, Code of Federal Regulations, right? E meaning electronic, online, okay? We're going to go to Title 22. So 22, so if you go to Google, all you got to do is type in 22 space CFR space 51.3, and then you'll see here types of passports, okay? Now, there's different types of passports. Now, you get this through the passport application form that you fill out for a passport, okay? There's different types of passports, right? Now, a U.S. citizen lives in the District of Columbia on paper, right? So you can see here, you have a regular passport. A regular passport is issued to a national of the United States, okay? So you wouldn't have that one, okay? Now, we have down here official passports, right? We have an officer or employee of the U.S. government traveling abroad to carry out official duties and family members of such persons. We have a U.S. government personal services contractor traveling abroad to carry out official duties on behalf of the U.S. government. We have a non-personal services contractor traveling abroad to carry out duties in support of and pursuant to a contract with the U.S. government when the contractor is unable to carry out such duties using a regular or service passport. And we have an official or employee of a state, local, tribal, or territorial government traveling abroad to carry out official duties in support of the U.S. government. Now, if you look, each one of these indicate that you are like either a contractor or some kind of personal services contractor or an officer or an employee of the government. Because if you live in their like corporate governmental zone, you must be an official or employee of the government. That's how they look at it, right? And I get into how that is, and I get into all the laws and stuff in my free course, right? So when you get a passport, you're probably, all the people who are saying they're U.S. citizens on everything, they're getting an official passport, right? But there's a different kind of passport called a regular passport, which is issued to a national of the United States. Now, this is how you get out of taxation, okay? And just to really quickly, I'm going to unshare, and I'm going to go to one thing really, really quick. I'm gonna show you guys a few things from my website. You're gonna see a few things here. Let me just show you this. My course is basically the same exact thing as this video. It's just me digging through stuff. Okay, so when they say resident alien and they say non-resident alien, like you're going to see that a lot when you start digging into all this stuff. They're referring to specifically the District of Columbia. Okay, so I'm going to show you a few things, right? So we have 26 CFR section 1.871-1. Okay, and it says non-resident alien individuals and blah, 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 right? Now, it's non-resident alien. Every single accountant and every single lawyer thinks that means that non-resident to the 50 states of the United States of America. That's not what it means. That's not what it means. And there's literally like no one knows any of this information, and it blows my mind because it's right in the U.S. code. I talk to so many lawyers. Lawyers don't read any of this stuff. Lawyers read case law, which is other judges and other people looking at the codes and then making an interpretation of the codes. And then people look at the interpretations of other people looking at the codes. But like, dude, you can go right here on the internet and you can look up the codes yourself. Like why no one is doing this and why I'm just this like weird like guy who's this like conspiracy theorist dude looking all this shit up on the internet and reading it for myself blows my mind, bro. Like lawyers don't know anything about this. So you think to yourself, oh, I'm going to go check with my lawyer about all this. They don't know any of this information. They don't even know the definition of United States. And you show it to them, oh, that means, oh, and they have like an aneurysm. Okay. Well, it says what it says, bro. Like your emotions aren't really very helpful, right? So resident alien is somebody who is resident to the United States, which means Washington, D.C. Non-resident alien is somebody who does not live in the United States, which means somebody who lives outside of Washington, D.C. So a non-resident alien is a national. A resident alien is a U.S. citizen, right? So it says here, non-resident alien. So it says here, this is non-resident alien individuals are taxable only on certain income from sources within the United States, which means inside the District of Columbia, and on the income described in Section 864C4 from sources without the United States, which means outside of the District of Columbia, which is effectively connected for the taxable year for the conduct of a trade or blah, blah, blah. Anyways, what it's saying here is that there are certain codes that describe what a non-resident alien's tax liability is, which is Section 864C4. Now, if you take the time and you actually go look at these, you'll realize that really all they're saying is that non-resident alien individuals only have a tax liability from that of which money that they make inside the District of Columbia. So once you are no longer a U.S. citizen and you switch to being a national. Now, if you live in Washington, D.C., you can't do any of this, okay? You can only do this if you live in one of the 50 states of the Union. You can't do it if you live in a territory either. For example, Guam, Puerto Rico, etc. Until there was some talks about Puerto Rico becoming a state, but until that happens, you can't do any of this stuff I'm talking about, right? This ad is specifically for people in LA, so I'm not going to get into that too much, but you have to actually live in one of the 50 states of the Union in order to become a national, okay? And just to show you guys one more thing, here is travel.state.gov. Right here, you can look up certificates of non-citizen nationality. This information is not secret information. You can find information on the subject if you care to actually look, okay? So back to this. So I rewrote this section in English, basically, right? Which is non-resident alien individuals are taxable only on certain income from money they make from the District of Columbia. However, non-resident alien individuals may willingly elect, if they woke up today and decided on retardation, to be treated as resident aliens for the purposes of us stealing their money. If they would like to file any of our forms, like a W-9 form, and say they are U.S. citizens and send us money, we'll do them a favor and change their status to a resident alien for them as a public service so that we can deposit their money. That's how it works, okay? So, case law. I'm going to show you guys some case law here. Case law just means that, you know, it's information that it's an opinion about law or about statutes that came from some kind of court case, right? So you got to ask yourself, a U.S. citizen, right? A U.S. citizen lives in the District of Columbia, right? The District of Columbia is not one of the 50 states of the Union. So you got to think, is it part of America? The question is, no, it's not. A U.S. citizen is part of a corporate zone because it's a federal corporation, as we already saw, right? Now, inside that corporate zone, you are not in America. So you are not an American. So you do not have the Constitution. You do not have the Bill of Rights, etc., right? And that is proven right here in the Supreme Court case, U.S. versus Valentine. They made it very clear right here. The only absolute and unqualified right of a United States citizen is to residence within the territorial boundaries of the United States, which means the District of Columbia. So what does that mean? You don't have the right to free speech. You don't have the right to bear arms. You don't have, oh, by the way, arms and firearms are two entirely different terms in law, just as a little side point. So, you know, do you own firearms or do you own arms? They're two entirely different things, right? I get into that in some of the more recent shows I've been on. I do tons and tons and tons of guest spots on shows and all sorts of things. You'll see all that on my website, right? So, this information is blowing up like such a crazy amount. I think as of right now, I get 25,000 people a month on my website, and I'm getting like 20 to 30% growth every single month on everything. So this is big. This is not just a few idiots snooping around. You know, there's people from all walks of life, all ages doing this, checking into this, blah, 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 blah. And I give away my stuff for free, again, because I care very much about my country. I see my country going in a very wrong direction. This is an apolitical movement. I don't care about the politics. I get it. I'm in California. Don't care. Don't care at all. Okay? Again, the only absolute and unqualified right of a United States citizen, which is somebody who lives in a corporate zone who is considered an officer or employee of the federal government, not an American. You aren't an American if you are a U.S. citizen. You are part of a foreign corporate zone. The Supreme Court has been clear about this. Okay? Now, we're going to go up here. These are all great case law points, right? They talk about state citizen. They talk about taxpayers are not state citizens. Now, here we go. This one comes from Hendrick versus Maryland. And again, you don't need to be a lawyer to understand this. Like, we're just reading some shit that some people said. A U.S. citizen, upon leaving the District of Columbia, becomes involved in interstate commerce as a resident and does not have the common law right to travel, as does a citizen of one of the several states, meaning a state citizen, right? So you only have one right as a U.S. citizen. That's to physically locate yourself in the District of Columbia. Okay, once you leave the District of Columbia, you're basically just like this stateless nomad that has no rights and you have nothing. Okay, so this is probably starting to clear up for you a lot of what you're seeing in the world. Okay, so now let's move on to the next section here. Okay, and we're gonna go back to me for this one. Okay, now I'm gonna make this real simple. Okay, here's the corporation, the federal corporation known as United States, known as Washington D.C. or whatever. Right now, if United States is incorporated, what do you think state of California is? It's a sub-incorporation of United States. Now, I show the case law and I show everything and I show the point of the USC in my course. But where do you think, if United States is incorporated and physically located in the District of Columbia, where do you think state of California is physically located? It's located in the District of Columbia as well. Okay? So there's two different states. There's state of California and there's California state. Okay? California state is California. State of California is in Washington, D.C. Okay? So you pay state tax because you state that you live in the state of California, which is in Washington, D.C. That's why you pay state tax. When you clarify all this on paper and you move back to California state, you don't pay state tax anymore because you're not a resident of state of California, which is insane. It's not even possible. Okay? You're not a resident of United States. You're not a resident of state of California. Now it gets worse. You have United States, you have state of California, and then you have city of Los Angeles, which is a sub corporation of, well, actually you probably have like county of Los Angeles and city of Los Angeles. Both are incorporated. Okay. And there's some towns and cities that are unincorporated and some that are incorporated. Okay. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole that you can go down. But my point is that, like, for example, you pay an LA city tax. And the reason why is because you state and you attest to the fact that you live in city of Los Angeles. City of Los Angeles is an incorporation. An incorporation can only be located in one place, man. It can only be located in one place on paper. DC, brother. Only unincorporated cities are actually located where they're located, okay? So you don't live in any of these places, right? So now we're going to get down to now that we've broken all this down, we're going to get into this mansion tax thing. Because this thing, I don't live in a mansion. I live in a very nice apartment. I'm actually in Glendale, okay? I don't care to have a giant mansion with all of the stuff that has to break and be fixed, and it sounds like a nightmare to me. But anyways, just the idea really irritated me very, very much. And you might say to yourself, oh, it's because he loves rich people or some other political ideation. No. It has to do with government overreach, period. I don't care about rich people. I don't care about poor people. I give away all my shit for free. So you can sit here and say, oh, Brandon loves rich people and he's part of the rich crowd and all this. Like, no, like, I don't care about that. I care more about government overreach, period, right? So County of Los Angeles is the one that you pay property taxes to. And the reason why is because if you have a guarantor deed or guarantee deed, whatever the hell it's called, or a quitclaim deed, that's not a real deed. You basically are paying rent to the county. The county owns a superior title to your property. Now, there's a way to fix that and to change that, okay? And I'm going to share my screen with you guys again, okay? And I'm just tapping this stuff. I'm not going to get into this stuff in too much detail here because all the information is on my website. It's all on my free course, and then obviously I'm for hire. That's kind of the whole point of this ad. This is a paid ad, Ty Lopez style, long-form paid ad, okay? I'm very clear about everything here. So if you go online and you type in BLM, which does not stand for what you think it does, okay? It stands for Bureau of Land Management. Okay. BLM land patent lookup, right? You're going to see this search BLM GLO records, Bureau of Land Management, right? Go into this bad boy right here. Okay. Now, I don't know everything about this process, just to be clear right now. I haven't done it myself. I have a huge fan base, and I have huge sections of like researchers and testers and like all this stuff. I have a huge operation. Okay. But this whole land patent thing, I've never done one myself. I have people who have done them successfully, right? So if you search in this land patent directory, right, you can search for your property. Okay. You're going to click on these blue numbers. Okay. Then you're going to go to patent image. Okay. Now, a lot of these are really old documents. Okay. And they have the patent number. Okay. And it's signed by, who is this? Secretary of the Recorder of the General, I can't read that. What does it say? Recorder of the General Land Office by the President, William H. Taft. So a lot of these land patents are signed by the President of the United States, right? And this is from 1912, 1912. Okay, so this is the original land patents, and they're available online to the Bureau of Land Management. This is not some conspiracy theory. Okay, now we're going to go back to me for just a second. I have a whole YouTube video about how to do a land patent. Okay. And again, I'd love to get hired, but at the same time, like, I really don't care. So this is the land patent video. I'm going to show you guys. You're going to type in my name, Brandon-Joe:_Williams, and Sarah Burrowby Stetson talking about land patents and mortgage discharge. Okay, so this video, you can look this video up online and you can find out exactly the full breakdown of how she's doing it and how a land patent is done. Now, when you do the land patent, this is the thing that stops these crazy mansion taxes. You're not going to pay for your mansion tax. You're not going to pay. You're basically, what you're doing is you're taking this land patent here and you're moving it up to present time and you're putting your own name on it. Okay. When you do that, and there's a whole, it's not that hard, honestly. You could do it yourself, but you know, whatever. I'm here because I'm tired of all this, and you can hire me and I'll help you or not. I don't care. Okay. So, the way the land patent works is you're going to move the land patent at the present time. You create a summary, and you get all the quitclaim deeds and all the guarantee deeds, and you list them all in order from the land patent, and then you bring the land patent up to present time, and you basically connect it with your parcel, right? So let's say it was a big section, but you only own the smaller section of the larger section, so you get what's called meets and bounds, and you type all of it up, and you basically make it a public record, and you basically state a claim. You're just like, I'm claiming this land as per the land patent, this section of this land on this land patent, right? And then what you do is you post it up, I think, for 30 or 60 days, and then if no one contests it, then it activates in law, and then at that point, your property is literally like a separate country. You're like the king of your own kingdom. Now, there's some problems associated with that too, right? So when you finish the land patent process, what happens is your property exits the public arena, right? So police, firemen, and all that, they actually can't physically step on your property. No one can come on your property any longer, right? Legally, right? Now, we've already figured all that out. All you do is you just call the police office and you call the fire department, and if you want to, you privately contract with them. You're actually going to pay a monthly fee, and way less than your property taxes and all this other horse shit. And you can actually still get firemen services, police services, etc. if you want to. It becomes optional at that point. Okay, you no longer have that stuff without paying for it privately. Permits. There is no such thing as permits once you have a land patent completed. You can build a 480-story skyscraper with machine guns mounted all over it, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. So this is powerful stuff. This is extremely, extremely powerful stuff. And this is the only way to truly own your property. If your entire property is paid off and you don't have a mortgage on your property and you pay cash for your property, you do not own your property. The county does until you do a land patent process. Okay? Now, you're asking yourself maybe some questions at this point. Like, for example, Brandon, if I don't live in Washington, D.C., do I still have to do a federal income tax? The answer is no. You don't pay federal income tax as a national. You don't pay state tax. You also don't pay sales tax. And I go into that all in my course. I don't pay sales tax. I have a lifetime exemption on Amazon for sales tax. Any large purchases, I fill out forms. There's different forms that you can use in California to get sales tax exemption. I don't collect sales tax. I don't need to for the various activities that I do. So yeah, this is a completely different way of living. It's a completely different lifestyle. It's a tax-free lifestyle. I mean, I don't even pay service fees for my bank accounts. I don't pay nothing. I don't have smog on my vehicle. The list goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And I teach you a lot about this in my course or in a lot of the shows that I'm in. A lot of the shows that I do, there's always new stuff coming up all the time. So in the shows and stuff, I share a lot of new information on my YouTube channel or on shows or here or there. This is a huge research type thing that's exploding at the seams. Okay, so the way that you get out of basically, so back to me. Let's go back to me. So if the government is an incorporation, okay, and all of the subsections of government is an incorporation, when you incorporate, where do you go? You go under state of California. So you become a part of that system when you incorporate, right? So here's a very simple idea on this, right? Anything the government gives you is an incorporation because they can't physically give you anything except an incorporation. It's impossible, right? So you ask yourself, well, Brandon, you said at the beginning of this video that I wouldn't have to pay taxes anymore and blah, 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 blah. Well, yeah, you open up what's called a private irrevocable trust. Anyone can open a trust. It's called an executor or a grantor. So you just someone signs the trust into existence and then boom, it exists. You don't go to the government for it, right? Now, when you do it that way, there's a lot of people who will say, oh, well, how are you going to do banking? And they have all this information about on the internet. I am working with the IRS personally. I have an excellent relationship with the IRS. I follow all of Title 26 of the Internal Revenue Code extremely closely. I read about it constantly. There's a lot of information about it in the course. I am completely unified with the Internal Revenue Service. I have no qualms with the Internal Revenue Service, and I have no qualms with the tax code. You need an EIN number in order to get a bank account, right? Now, I've done a lot of testing with SS4 forms, which is the form that you fill out to get a EIN number, right? And SS4 form, right? So this is applying for an EIN number. I'm not going to click on those. There's ads. Go down to Form SS4. Okay. So application for employer identification number. Now, I've done a lot of tests, and I've filled this thing out in ways that lawyers and accountants have never even heard of. I fill it out where it's not in Washington, D.C. It's completely external to Washington, D.C. I don't even use a Social Security number. And they are issuing EIN numbers for these trusts. And I am transparent as hell on these forms, man. I'm not lying on nothing. I'm not even fudging nothing. Now, it takes them a few weeks. They don't give them to you right away. But I am faxing these forms in, and I am getting EIN numbers issued for trusts that are located in California state, not state of California, okay? Now, once you get those special EIN numbers, you're all set. So you can attach your credit card processing to the trust account. It operates as a trust, not a business. So if you don't know anything about the way trusts are operated, I can help you with that. Even if you have a massive 40,000 person employee situation and you're looking to fully privatize, that's like my wet dream, basically. I can help you do all that, help you move all the assets into a trust, set up the EINs. Trusts are great for asset protection and stuff like that. There's Supreme Court cases, a lot of case law on when you open a trust like this. It's totally untouchable. You can't be subpoenaed, nothing. Now they can offer you a subpoena and they can tell you that you are going to get subpoenaed, but you just decline it. You just say no. It's that simple. There's nothing they can do. Okay. So there's a lot of asset protection in this. There's so many benefits. It's unbelievable. You're not a part of the United States Code at that point. You are a completely privatized. It's kind of like I believe some of them still exist, like trade company or trade organization. You see these tiny little trade organizations that float around. From the research that I've done, they did a huge government promotional thing many years ago where they said, oh, get incorporated and blah, 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 blah. Now, the whole point of getting incorporated is there's benefits and there's pros and cons to being incorporated, right? The pros are, you're part of the system and there's like courts and you can get certain benefits from it, right? And then the cons is the taxation and all the other BS, right? So this is mind-blowing to a lot of people hearing this information for the first time, but when you're fully privatized and you're not incorporated at all, and you do this correctly, you don't need a license to do anything. You don't need a license to be a dentist. You don't need a license to be a surgeon. Now you say to yourself, that's insane. I understand, but there's a lot of things going on with what doctors can and can't say, and there's a lot of weird stuff going on with doctors, and I know a lot of doctors are really concerned about what they're seeing right now in California. So once you privatize fully and you do it correctly, you don't need the licenses anymore. So they control you through the licensing. So they say, oh, we're going to pull your license if you do A, B, and C. Well, the second you set yourself up properly, you don't need a license. Now they can't do anything. They can't control you. They can't fine you, etc. Okay. And you say to yourself, well, what's stopping them from doing all this now, even if you are set up that way? Well, the truth is that this is like a religion to them. The codes and everything. That's why I don't get all emotional about it. People get so emotional. Oh my God, it's so emotional, right? There's no emotion here. It's just the codes. It's the codes and the definitions of the words. Okay. Once you learn all that and once you understand all that, then you don't have to worry about all that stuff, because the thing is that they follow the codes. They follow the codes exactly. And there's even sections of the code that deliberately talk about nationals. I'll show you right now, right? So once you become a national, you're going to become what's found in 18 USC 112, all right? 18 USC 112. Let's see. I want Cornell. There it is. So you'll see here there's all these different terms, right? For the purpose of this section, foreign government, foreign official, internationally protected person, international organization, national of the United States, and official guest shall have the same meanings. Okay, so once you become a national, I didn't share. There we go. So this is the section I just read. This is 18 USC 112. This is all about protection of foreign officials, official guests, and internationally protected persons, which is just more terms for a national. It's the same. They say in this section C, those terms mean all the same thing, right? So once you become a national, the federal corporation openly says in 18 USC 112 that they are going to protect you internationally. Whoever assaults, strikes, wounds, imprisons, or offers violence to a foreign official. Now they say foreign official because United States is Washington, D.C. Once you move back into a state, as we saw in 8 USC 1101 subsection 21, I think, or it's talking about national, they're on a state. A state is foreign to United States, which is Washington, D.C. So you're a foreign official, okay, at that point. Whoever assaults, strikes, wounds, imprisons, or offers violence to a foreign official guest, or internationally protected person, or makes any other violent attack upon the person or liberty of such person, or if likely to endanger his person or liberty, makes a violent attack upon his official premises, private accommodation, or means of transport, or attempts to commit any of the foregoing, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years or both. If you use a deadly or dangerous weapon and inflict bodily injury, you'll get 10 years. Not more than 10 years. The wording is very, very important, right? It doesn't mean 10 years in prison. It means up to 10 years in prison. You got to be very, very careful. It's not that hard to read this stuff, but if you are going to read it, you just got to read it, and not, your emotions are going to come in on you constantly. You just got to push all that to the side. Okay. So, it's very, very clear. You are protected as a national. You have more protections as a national than you do as a U.S. citizen. You regain all of your constitutional rights, all of your Bill of Rights, and you say to yourself, well, does that mean you can carry or own whatever firearms you want? No, because the word firearms is a completely different term than arms. The Constitution protects me to bear arms, not firearms, right? And that's a whole nother rabbit hole. Okay. So, you have to be very, very careful about the words and the definitions of the words that you are using. And if you decide you want to dig down this hole, you're going to learn all about that kind of stuff, right? Words are everything. Words are absolutely everything in this. I'm going to show you one more, 18 USC 956. This one is conspiracy to kill, kidnap, maim, or injure persons or damage property in a foreign country. Okay. Let's see here. Foreign government. I think that's 8 USC 11, I believe. Definition in the USC of foreign government. Yeah, 18 USC 11. This is really fascinating. This is the definition of foreign government. So foreign government defined. I'm going to share the screen with you on this. So foreign government defined. The term foreign government includes any government faction or body of insurgents within a country with which the United States is at peace, irrespective of recognition by the United States. So California state, which is the actual California, is essentially a foreign government or a foreign land from United States, which is a foreign corporate zone that is not a state, that has nothing to do with the 50 states of the Union of America. Okay. So as long as you're at peace, which is why I'm at peace and I have no issues with any of this, nor am I political, nor do I care about anything, nor am I angry, nor am I upset. I'm not. Because the thing is that if you're no longer at peace, or you behave in a way where you show you're no longer at peace, you lose the foreign government definition, right? So they don't have to recognize the fact that you're at peace or recognize you at all. As long as you're at peace and it's clear by your words and your actions, you are, as per 18 USC 11, defined as a foreign government. So once you go through all this and you have your private irrevocable trust, you have your land patent, you have your passport sorted out, and you sort out all your other stuff, at that point, you're fully a foreign government. You are a completely foreign government and a foreign zone, and your relationship with the government of the United States is actually through the Department of the Interior, which deals with tribal relationships and that kind of thing, like tribes, priorities, clean energy. Let's see here, infrastructure, and then strengthening Indian country, right? So once you're a foreign government, you're essentially under under the same umbrella as like a tribal nation, essentially. So tribal nations are foreign governments, and they're set up as nationals, and they have most likely done land patents. Tribes and tribal type stuff in America, tribes are usually pretty quiet, and they keep to themselves because they don't trust people, because why would you, honestly, if you're a tribe? Especially with the kind of history we have in this country with tribes, right? But tribes usually have like legal representation, like a section of the tribe that deals specifically with legal, right? From my experiences, there's very, very few people that know anything about anything I'm sharing in this wild paid ad that I'm doing. The only area that you're going to find that generally does have quite a bit of information about a lot of what I'm covering here is the legal sections of tribes. And the reason why is because that's a lot of what this is. So if you know someone who's involved, or if you know anyone who is a part of an Indian tribe or the legal section of an Indian tribe, you can ask them about this. You ask yourself, I'm just trying to think of a few other things to go over before I end this off. If you, the W-9 form we went over earlier, that's the one that everyone signs when they get a job, right? Once you become a national, you can't sign a W-9 anymore. Perjury is up to 1 year in prison, and it's a felony. So you ask yourself, well, what do I fill out once I do all this if I want to get employed? This is for people who are kind of more like just worker bees, or people who have jobs and stuff like that. You're going to fill out a W-8-BEN form, right? Most bookkeepers, accountants, and stuff like that have never even seen this form hardly. Certificate of foreign status with beneficial owner. So you're a foreigner to United States. You're not a U.S. citizen. You're not a U.S. person. You're a foreign beneficiary. A lot of this has to do with trust law, which I get into a lot in my free course that I offer on my website. Okay, so a W-8-BEN, when you fill this thing out, you're not going to have any clue how to fill this out right now. I teach you how to fill this out in my free course. Once you fill this out and give it to your employer no longer takes out your federal or state income taxes. So you start making a lot more money instantaneously. It takes about 5 minutes of your time, and bada bing, bada boom, you are no longer paying tax. I'll give you another couple of super fast freebies here near the end, just to get you really excited. There is something called a revocation of election, right? And I'm just going to give you a little bit of this before I end off on this video. This just take me a second to find for you guys. If you're watching this still, pretty impressive, because kind of a long video, right? Let's see here. I'm trying to find the section on the revocation of election process. It's in my course. I'm having a hard time finding it at the moment, but anyways, you basically, the way it works is there's a particular section, I believe it's of the CFR and the Code of Federal Regulations, and it basically says that a person can, when they sign their first W-9 form, they basically elect to be treated as though they live in the District of Columbia, right? So it's called an election, which is super crazy. But basically, when you signed your first W-9 form, you elected to be treated for tax purposes as though you're a resident of the United States, which means District of Columbia, okay? So you can actually revoke that election to be treated as though you're live in the District of Columbia, okay? Now, the way that you do that is actually with another form, and I teach you exactly how to fill out this form on my free course. It's called a Form 56. Okay, I'm going to show you guys what this looks like, and no one has a clue how to use this form. Very few attorneys or or accountants have any clue about this form, or if they do, they've seen it like once and they have no idea how to use it. It's actually pretty complicated. Once I teach you, so video 1 through 9 of my free course teaches you how to fill out the Form 56. And this form here eliminates your election to be treated as though you're a resident alien. So if you're self-employed and you own a business, you're going to do your passport, you're going to do the trust, you're going to do all that stuff, but you're also going to do a Form 56 because you have to inform the IRS that you're no longer want to be treated as though you live in the District of Columbia. And this is the fastest and easiest way to do it. It takes 5 minutes, costs you no money. If you're an employee of a company or a business, and you get paid through a payroll service, you have to use the W-8BEN form. Another one that you can use is the W-4V. You're going to go to the W-4V form. This is the W-8BEN. You're going to freak a lot of people out. They're going to lose their mind and be running around like you just set them on fire. They've never seen one. They're scared to death of it, etc. If you want like a real simple like baby step where you could keep putting a lot more money in your pocket right away, you're going to use a W-4V form, and then you're going to see on box 7, I want you to stop withholding federal income tax from my payments. Really simple. Sign it, fill it out, give it to your payroll person or your HR, and that's how you get out of that. The W-8BEN is way better. Technically speaking, you should have your passport and stuff sorted out before you give them a W-8BEN, but I tell people just give them anyways. As long as you're like going to do your passport within a reasonable amount of time, just give them a W-8BEN and be done with it. The W-4V is another really good option. And then I'm trying to think if there's any other little tidbits I want to give you guys. Another thing I wanted to show you, which is so funny because people look at these forms all day long, like bookkeepers and people in HR, and they've just never really like taken the time to really like inspect any of this stuff, right? So Form I-9, everyone who's in, everyone fills these out. HR fills these out all the time. People fill these out all the time, blah, 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 blah. Now check this out. We can do a full screen on this. Let me just make sure I'm with you guys. Full screen. Now look at box number 1, a citizen of the United States. Now look at box number 2, a non-citizen national of the United States. And I always hear from bookkeepers and accountants and lawyers, I've never even seen that. I've never had anyone turn that in before. Well, yeah, of course, because no one knows any of the information that I'm sharing you. So a citizen of the United States is someone who lives in the District of Columbia. A non-citizen national of the United States is somebody who doesn't live in the District of Columbia. It's literally that simple. Yeah, it's insane, and the terms are all weird, but that is literally the definition of those two things, okay? So you ask yourself, now I've had some people who have had some trouble with this because their HR or their payroll departments go absolutely crazy over it, and they think that all this illegal stuff is going down. Well, it says right here, anti-discrimination. It is illegal to discriminate against work-authorized individuals. Employers cannot. Now look at that. All capital letters in bold print. You seeing that? The word cannot. Let me just say it. Employers cannot specify which documents an employee may present to establish employment authorization and identity. The refusal to hire or continue to employ an individual because the documentation presented has a future expiration date may also constitute illegal discrimination. That's lawsuit, bro. That's bad lawsuit territory. So anybody want to share this video and show their employer this video? Any employer looking at this, you think the IRS is scary? Yeah, discrimination lawsuit's going to be more scary because in the state of California or in California state, the last thing you want is a discrimination lawsuit that hits the media. People here in California do not appreciate discrimination. So good luck. You're going to get lowered into burning lava and destroyed. I don't care how big your company is. You're you are putting some gnarly risk associated with things. Now look at this. I'm going to show you this too. This is a list of acceptable documentation that proves that you have the right to work, okay? Now, when you get your special standard passport, which shows that you're a national, a non-citizen national, right? What does it say here? And no HR person knows this, and no payroll person knows this, because no one's ever asked these questions, and they always do the same thing over and over again. List of acceptable documents, okay? Now, employees may present one selection from List A or a combination of one selection from List B and one from List C. So in order to be legally working in America, you have to either do one from List A, because in List A, these establish both identity and employment authorization, or, see there's the or bar, or you have to have one item from List B and one item from List C, B and C. So one item from both of those, right? Now, look at List A, point number 1, U.S. passport or U.S. passport card. Now, I have a passport card and a passport. And a lot of people are like, well, what is a passport card? I've never seen one before, right? So the DS-11 form is the application for a passport, okay? Now, right at the top of the application, again, no one reads any of this stuff, which is crazy. What does it say right at the top here? I'm going to do full screen and make sure I'm with you guys. Select documentations for which you are submitting fees, right? U.S. passport book, U.S. passport card, or both. Now, another thing people don't see is they have a regular book, standard, and they have a large book, non-standard. I don't know how big the large book is. It says here, the large book is for frequent international travelers who need more visa pages. I don't think I've ever seen one before. Freaking cool. Cool in my opinion. So I teach you how to fill out the DS-11 form in my course. It's not like anything you've ever seen before. Even the people who work at the passport office have never seen the way that we're filling out this form in order to get these special passports. It's all 100% transparent. It's all 100% legal. There is no fudging of any documentation whatsoever. In fact, me and my people have a more honest relationship with the Department of State and the Internal Revenue Service than probably any other group on the planet, because we are so hardcore about their codes and to study their codes, and we're so transparent with them that they actually appreciate it. And we've actually recently had the IRS actually assist us in calling corporations and stuff like that are refusing W-8BEN forms and helping us get the W-8BEN forms accepted. So you think to yourself, so Brandon, you're telling me that the IRS is actually assisting people to never pay taxes again? Yes, the answer is yes. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'm just showing you that and telling you that in an effort to show you that this is all legal. We are doing everything so by the books that it's unbelievable. These organizations have never seen anything like this before, because we're going through the codes and we're clearing up every single definition of every single word, and we're sharing and we're talking about the codes. We're not angry. If someone's angry at the IRS, I don't want them to be a part of what I'm doing. All I'm doing is studying the codes, following the codes, looking at the definitions, and asking questions. That's it, okay? We're getting full compliance from the IRS. So back to this point. So List A, right? You don't need, look, what does List B have? Driver's license, state ID, voter registration card, military card, Coast Guard. What does Section C have? Social Security account number, certification of birth, birth certificate. You don't need any of this stuff. None of it. As long as you have a passport, and you're going to have a standard passport. So you're going to have a passport that states that you're a citizen of a state and you're not a citizen of Washington, D.C., right? So as long as you have your passport book or your passport card, you don't need citizenship to work. And if you have a private irrevocable trust, we're getting EIN numbers for those, so you can still have bank accounts. You can do everything. You can do everything that a normal person can do who's a citizen. You're just not paying any taxes. You're not getting smog check. There's all sorts of law changes in terms of what laws you have to follow and stuff like that. There's much less laws that you have to actually follow. You can't be prosecuted very easily. That's a whole nother story. But basically, A national is an American. A U.S. citizen is not. A U.S. citizen is basically like a person who lives on site and who works as an officer or employee of a federal corporation, which I know is kind of crazy, right? And I get into all of that, and I get into the 14th Amendment that explains that and when that whole thing got started, and I get into a lot of the definitions, and my course is silly, and I'm making a lot of jokes, and it's fun, and I'm singing and looking up definitions in Black's Law Dictionary, and it's just kind of this whole thing. Okay, so, but I'm just making this video because it's an ad, which I know is probably the craziest ad you've ever seen in your life. But anyways, that's it. I'll put some links here. You know, my main website, I don't even know if I can say the name of it because it's like, it's something that I don't even know if I can say that word on paid ads. So I'll give you a different URL. It's don'tbeaslave.com. That's going to redirect you to a different URL. My website and all my material is super crazy and wild beyond belief. So, I don't want to hear your complaints. It's all free. I don't care, dude. Like, I literally physically cannot care less about your opinion. This is getting so big and it's so huge. And I have so many millionaires and billionaires and people that I'm setting up meetings with right now. And it's super crazy. It's so big. I'm doing all of this myself. There's a lot of people that I'm working with all over the country. I have a whole group in Belgium doing this. I have a whole group in London doing this now. There are groups that are popping up where they're meeting in person and they're watching all of the videos in my courses and stuff like that. I have Vimeo for all of my courses. And if you add up all of the consumption time, as of, I think 2 days ago, if you add up all the consumption time of all of my videos for my course, it's about 5 years of consumption, which is 8,700 hours times 5, which is like over 40,000 hours of video consumption. My website is through the roof. I have stats to my website statistics on my Instagram, on my Facebook, where we're like every single month is like this. It's straight up and vertical. I'm on shows constantly. I'm getting asked to be on shows constantly. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I probably, at the rate things are going, I probably will be on either like a Brian Rose, or like a Joe Rogan kind of a thing by the end of the year. And again, I know that's politicized just like everything else. I don't care. I'm not in the political game. So you can save all of your opinions on all of that. I don't care. That's not why I'm here. I don't even vote anymore, dude. Like, I literally don't care. Like, I don't trust the system at all. I'm out of it completely. As an individual, as all my business, work type stuff, everything's gone. I don't live in the United States. I'm not even there. I got nothing to do with it. That's all just like, I look at that like France and they're like dealing with some political stuff. I don't care. It's got nothing to do with me. So, contact me. I have a message section on my website, and I also have an application to work with me section on my website. If you're interested in working with me, I am going to have you go through my entire free course first before I really create like a deep relationship with you. I do offer partnership type thing. I'd probably rather would do like some kind of a partnership more so than like paying me as a consultant. And the reason being is just because if I were to do consultations for people, it's just going to be wildly expensive. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm going to, I save you so much money. I mean, you're not going to pay payroll. You're not going to pay payroll taxes. You're not going to pay sales tax. You're not going to pay federal income tax. You're not going to pay state tax. You're not going to pay city tax or any other taxes they dream up. Never going to happen. In terms of your properties, the land patents will annihilate having to do any sort of permitting. You never have to ask for permission to do anything ever again with your property from the county because the county doesn't own it anymore after the land patent process is completed. I didn't get into it too much here, but I can discharge debts. using legal processes. You show me a debt, I get it wiped away. It's that simple. There is no debt that I can't wipe away, whether it's a mortgage. I don't care if it's a $20 trillion mortgage. I will breathe at it and it will disappear. I've already done $200,000 of my own stuff. Done deal. I have a letter from a law firm on my website, on my free course sign up section. And the reason why this ad is only going to be shown in Los Angeles for right now is because I'm not looking to really travel too far right now. Looking for more of, this is not like, hey, I'm paying a guy to come and work for me and do some cool stuff and it's like this, whatever. No, this is like a more intimate, like kind of long-term relationship that we're going to have if you do want to work with me. And the reason why is because you're going to need to do some training. I'm going to need to train you in some of this stuff, even above and beyond the course, because otherwise, if anything happens, you're going to be crying, running to me, because I'm the only guy that can handle any of this stuff or fix any of this stuff or do any of this stuff. Because there's like almost nobody that really does any of this stuff. It doesn't. Lawyers and accountants don't even. They think that this stuff's all conspiracy theory. So you go and try to hire some $5,000 an hour lawyer. They can't even do this work. So, I'm not trying to. It's a little bit weird. I'm not trying to have you shackled to me necessarily. So I only want people that I can like physically work with personally in person, get some drinks or coffee and we can and I can educate you and help you and train you and work with you so that way you can stand on your own 2 feet and not just be this like thing that the county or the government can just blow at and push you over. Right. Little backstory on me, the Employment Development Department, irritated me quite a bit. And that's kind of why I started looking into all this stuff and digging through all this. And that was the beginning of all of this. So anybody out there who has had some Employment Development Department issues, that is where my research on all of this began. And it began in September of 2021. And you say to yourself, well, you haven't been doing this super long. Well, yeah, but I mean, we're talking complete, utter obsession. All day, all night. I can hardly date. I don't really go out a lot. Like all day, all night, all the time. All I'm doing is studying this stuff, or I'm on a show, or I'm doing videos or a podcast or something. So on my website, again, my material is pretty intense. It's probably even offensive to a lot of people. It's hilarious. The whole point is to bring all of this information down to like a very, very simple kind of dumbed down version of all of it, because people find it very hard to, people have a very low personal confidence when it comes to reading and law and all that. And I'm trying to break that. So I try to make it fun and goofy and hilarious and simple to give people the confidence of like, hey, actually, Brandon's right. This stuff isn't that bad, and I don't need lawyers and this and that. So like obviously privatizing, if we were to privatize your entire situation, we would get rid of a lot of your legal team. Don't need them. Totally worthless. Bookkeepers, worthless. Accountants, worthless. And in my free course, I teach accountants and lawyers and a lot of these guys how to change what they're doing to make 10 times as much money as they're doing now. Like when you learn the stuff that I'm teaching right here as a lawyer or an accountant or a bookkeeper, holy bleep, man, you're going to be making 10 times the money you're making now. So I know this material on this ad might seem like contentious towards those particular demographics. It's not at all. The world is changing. I'm sure everyone watching this knows that. And we're at a point now where a lot of what I'm teaching is becoming more and more well known. And if you don't change and you continue to do this old stuff, you're going to be left behind. So I don't want that. I don't want a war with lawyers and accountants and all this kind of thing. I'm very clear about that. And I've had 4 different lawyers, all of which 10 plus years in their respective industries, tell me that they learned more in my completely free course than they did in their entire college career. all the way through their entire college, and which was pretty wild, pretty mind blowing. So if you are a lawyer or an accountant, and then doctors, I have a soft spot in my heart a little bit for doctors. A lot of weird things are going on in terms of there's a lot of alternative healing and stuff in California, probably more than anywhere else in the world, or at least in the country. And there's some concerns about that in relation to your license. You can privatize, and then you don't have to worry about that. You don't need your license anymore. You get rid of it. So that's a marketing problem, by the way, but it's not a hard one to solve. You're going to say, and I can help you set up all your marketing. I can do all that too. It's going to be basically like, we're losing trust in a lot of the organizations that are supposed to be protecting our health and that kind of thing. And due to some stuff and some research that I've been doing, I've decided that I'm going to be disconnecting from all of those corporations. By doing that, I've done a privatization that's completely illegal. And you're gonna lean a lot more on your know-how and your educational aspects. Like, for example, when you educate people, and it proves that you're effective. So, like, as a chiropractor, your marketing campaigns would become mostly educational at that point. How do you sit at work, or how do you do this, or what kind of foods to eat that promote joint health? And like, you're going to get into a lot more podcasting and a lot more PR and branding type exercises that create more trust to basically like eliminate the fact that you don't have a license can be an issue, right? So I haven't done a tremendous amount of research into all this and a lot of testing, but it would be a lot of fun. And I think that in today's political climate, I really don't think that, I think now more than ever, it would be really easy to launch a campaign of that nature. I'm not particularly interested in working with like a small business type doctor type thing, but if it was more of like a huge thing, I'm looking for big, huge, massive companies or like massive chains, stuff like that. Ideally, I'm not looking for mom and pop shops, stuff like that. So let me see if there's anything else to really talk about here. Just to touch a little bit on cars. You can get what's called a DOT number. How to get a DOT number. You don't need a license plate and registration. You can just get a DOT number, which is basically like the same thing as like a federal license plate, essentially, right? You're going to go to this one here. How do I get a US DOT number, right? And there's two different types of DOT numbers. There's a private motor carrier. What is a private motor carrier? Transports its own cargo. So you can see here, this is from FMCSA. A private motor carrier transports its own cargo, usually as a part of a business that produces, uses, sells, and or buys the cargo that is being hauled. A private motor carrier transports its own goods and is required to have a US DOT number, but does not need operating authority, an MC number, right? So a private motor carrier is completely different than a for-hire motor carrier. So there's two different types of DOT numbers. And it comes from 49 CFR 390.5T. There's another section actually in the CFR that goes over this, right? So this is a person engaged in the transportation of goods or passengers for compensation, right? So it costs $300 to get a for-hire motor carrier license or DOT number. And California, who needs an MCP motor carrier permit. So once you get the private motor carrier DOT number, it says here, drivers who do not need an MCP, household goods and or passenger carriers that are doing it for themselves, like the one I just showed you, household good carriers, So they're very clear, even in California, that you don't need a motor carrier permit if you're a private motor carrier. Okay, and doing the trust and all the other stuff that I can do for a company, we would also set up all of your contracts in a way where everything that you haul, you own it at the time of hauling. So the insurance would change and some other things would change, right? But let's say, for example, like a truck driving company, right? You would change all the contracts to where like you pick up the equipment at point A, you put it in the truck. Now, once the door closes and the truck starts, that cargo is your cargo. You own it. You're not transporting someone else's cargo for money, right? So you structure the contract where it's like, it's yours here. Now, during transport, it's mine. And then when I drop it off, it's yours again, right? And then you would insure it as such, okay? When you do it that way, you don't need an MCP anymore. You don't need a license. You don't need a CDL. You don't need CDL drivers anymore. You don't need an MCPs. You don't need any of that. It's all private motor carrier. And it's not going to really concern anyone because they don't really care as long as it's insured. So as long as the insurance is worked out, you can get around all of that. And then you don't have to stop at weigh stations anymore. There's a lot of really cool benefits associated with that as well. So, and you can do that with your motorcycles and your private cars as well. So if you have and you only need one DOT number for everything that you do. So like, for example, if I had a bunch of stuff, like a personal stuff, let's say I had 2 cars and let's say I had a bunch of kids and a family and I had like 5 cars at home. You only need one DOT number can cover all of your kids, okay? And you can get the DOT number in like a trust name. Like my DOT number is under my trust name. So set all that up for you as part of the services. And let's see. So you would have a DOT number for your personal stuff. I would set that up for you because this is like a lot of personal stuff associated with all this. And then we would have another DOT number for all of your stuff associated with transporting for your business essentially, right? But you would own it during time of transport. And we would just change all your contracts to state that. It's very simple. And then you would just change the insurance so that way that was all clear with the insurance as well. And then at that point, now private motor carrier DOT numbers are completely free. There is no cost to setting them up. There is no cost to having them. And then every 2 years, you just have to do a biannual like checkup and just make sure all the information is up to date. And then that's also free. So you can have as many DOT numbers as you want. They're all free. There's no smog with a DOT number, a private motor carrier DOT number. There's no weigh stations with a private DOT number. You don't need a CDL because a CDL is a commercial driver's license. You can do it without having to have a CDL, so you don't need to hire people who have CDLs anymore. I hate to say it for all you truck drivers with CDLs. I'm not trying to hurt truck drivers here. Truck drivers can actually make a lot more money with this information. You can open up your own trucking service, or you can structure your contracts in a way and you can become an independent truck driver, and then you can file for being a national, and you can do your WABEN, your 456, and then you can pay a lot less taxes, no taxes at all. So I'm not trying to like hurt truck drivers. They're actually people who are actually know a lot about this information. They get a lot of time to study and listen to podcasts and stuff on the road. They're usually pretty knowledgeable about all this. So I'm not trying to step on anyone's feet here, with all this information. I'm not trying to step on truck drivers. I'm not trying to step on lawyers or accountants or any of the people. I'm not concerned about getting sued. No one's going to sue me. Good luck. That would be absolutely hilarious. But my concern is more with the fact that like it's a non-combative movement. I'm not trying to get involved in combat. I'm not trying to ruffle feathers and create chaos. That's not the point. My point is we need to study the law. We need to learn the law. We need to follow the law. And the law is shocking. No one looks at it. When you look at it, it's shocking and beautiful. And I appreciate it very, very much. And I appreciate America very, very much. And I appreciate California very, very much. California state. So yeah, pretty mind blowing that I'm going to make this into a YouTube ad. That'll be fascinating. Anyways, I think that's a good basic overview of everything that I'm doing. And I will be putting this up and we'll see what happens. Probably be pretty wild. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. If you've gotten this far in the video, that's pretty amazing. And maybe I'll hear from you. Thanks. Bye-bye.